from Inspire Pilates Retreats, and today we want to take you through a little flow of Pilates movements that we both like to do every day, just to get the spine working, move some of our joints, get all of our stabilizing muscles on, ready for the day. And we pretty much do a similar thing with this every day, don't we? So we wanted to share that with you. So we're going to make a start. We're going to come onto our hands and knees, and we're going to have our wrists underneath our shoulders and our knees underneath our hips, starting with our belly button pulling in towards our spine and a fairly flat back. And taking an inhale to prepare, we're going to exhale and lift the pelvic floor and tuck the tail between our legs, rounding our spine into an angry cat position. And as we inhale, let's take the tail up towards the sky, let the tummy lower towards the floor, pull the shoulder blades down and lift the chest, lift the sternum. On your exhale, lift the pelvic floor and tuck the tail between the legs, rounding the spine, coming back into the round position, breathing in, coming back into our extension or arching of the spine. Keeping an awareness of where your belly button is. Exhale, tail between the legs, rounding the spine. Feeling a sense of length through the spine, from the tip of the tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head. Keeping the breath flowing as we're moving through these two movements. And exhale, tuck the tail between the legs. We're going to hold the spine in the rounded position here now and start to lower our bottom towards our heels. Let's keep the pelvic floor lifted and try to keep the pelvis tucked between our legs as much as we can as we start to lower the bottom back. Now you may find that it feels good for your body to bring the bottom all the way back to the heels. I find if I do that, I tend to lose a bit of the stretch that I'm trying to get in my lower back. So I will round my back and I'll just lift the bottom up a little bit again until I can find that stretch in the lower back. And then I might just play with that by bringing the bottom back towards the heels, holding the pelvic floor lifted and the tail tucked to get that stretch in the lower back. If you find that you don't get a stretch in the lower back with this position, you might just like to bring your bottom all the way down to your heels and come into your child's pose on the floor. Good. Let's bring that back up onto our hands and knees now. And we're going to walk our hands and knees up to the front-ish edge of our mat so that we can do a pigeon stretch to open the hips and stretch through the glutes. So can we bring our right knee towards our right hand and then cross that right foot underneath you. And then we're going to push back and down, trying to keep the hips square, trying not to twist through the body, to find a stretch in the right buttock. Now here, depending on your flexibility, you might like to come down onto your elbows there. And again, depending on the flexibility of your body, bringing the head down towards the floor as well. The most important thing is that you listen to your body. So obviously, Narelle and I are fairly flexible and we can come all the way down, but that's not going to work for everybody. So I always encourage you to listen to your body before you listen to me. Take a few deep breaths into this position, feeling the stretch into the right buttocks and maybe even up on the inner thigh through the groin of the right leg. As you exhale, allowing your body to soften into the stretch, just allowing the tension to let go. How's that feeling, Narelle?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Good. One more exhale there. And then to come out of this position, you might like to roll your body over to the right, or you can just come straight up out of it the same way that you got into it. Just seeing what's most comfortable through your hip. But we're going to come back onto our hands and knees, this time taking the left knee up towards the left hand and crossing the foot underneath the body and sliding back and down, walking your way down. And it could feel different on this side. None of our bodies are perfectly symmetrical. Lowering down to a level where you can achieve a nice stretch. And also remembering that if you go too far, you can always pull yourself back out of that position if it's a little too strong. Keeping the body and the hips nice and square and taking some deep breaths here. As you exhale, just allowing the tension to leave, One more exhale. I don't like to rush through my stretches. I like to sit in them and breathe. And again, to come out of this position, you can either roll your body out to the left, or you can just come straight up the same way that you got into it. From here, we're going to lower all the way down onto our tummies and take our arms out wide in what I call a little cactus position. So you got that one, Narelle? You can take your elbows out a little bit wider onto the floor there for me, Narelle. That's it, yeah. And we're going to have our big toes touching and let the heels relax out to the sides. Feel the pubic bone pressing into the floor. As we exhale, we engage the pelvic floor. We draw the shoulder blades down away from the ears, and we're going to lift the chest, lift the sternum. Keep the arms on the floor for the time being. Inhale as we lower the face and the chest back to the floor. Exhale, pelvic floor, pull the shoulder blades down and lift the sternum like it's trying to look in front of you. And inhale as we lower. Let's do one more like this. Exhale, pelvic floor, always important when we're working in extension to help protect the lower back. And inhale back to the floor. We're going to start that movement in exactly the same way, but then we're also going to push up a little bit higher into our extension. So on your exhale, pull the shoulder blades down, lift the chest. Then I want you to push your hands into the floor and allow the elbows to leave the floor, just coming up to a level that's comfortable for you in your extension. So you can push up a little bit high. That's enough for you, Narelle? Yeah, good. Excellent listening to your body. And then we're going to roll the front of the body back down onto the floor, keeping the shoulder blades down. Inhale to prepare at the bottom. We'll do two more like this. Exhale, pelvic floor, shoulder blades down, lift the face and the chest, push your hands into the floor to come up a little bit higher, just listening to your body there. On your inhale, we're rolling back down to the floor. And then exhale, coming up one last time, working our spine into extension. Not all spines love extension, but I am convinced that it's still a movement that the joints in our spine need to do. Our bodies are made to move. Beautiful. So that we can do some clams. So we're working on a bit of pelvic stability here now by turning on some of the muscles in the side of the buttocks. Well, when you have your legs in this bent position, if we lift our feet up to see them, the feet should be in line with the body, with the spine. So you may need to bring the feet back a little bit just to get them into the right position. Now we want to ensure that the top hip pushes down a little bit away, and that's going to help us to get a bit of a mouse hole or a tunnel underneath the side waist. Another tip that I use to make sure that my legs are in the right alignment is to look down at where my knees are and to make sure that my knees are stacked perfectly on top of each other, that one leg doesn't look longer than the other as I look at the knees. The feet are going to stay together, and as we exhale, we'll engage the pelvic floor and we're going to lift the top knee up just a little way. What we want to feel, and sometimes we don't feel it on the very first one, is the muscles in the side of the buttock working here. As we breathe in, we're going to lower that knee back down. The feet stay together. Exhale, pelvic floor, lift the knee, and inhale as we lower the knee. I usually keep my hands sitting on my buttock here. We do touch ourselves a lot in Pilates, don't we, Narelle? And just to make sure that I can feel this muscle underneath my hand firing away. What we don't want to do is have it all coming from the front of the hip flexor. How's that feeling?
Yeah, good.
Good. So we want to do about 10 of these in this position, and I've just been waffling away a little bit, so I'm getting a bit of a cheat in here. I haven't done as many as Narelle has. I'm trying to listen to Narelle's breathing to get into timing with her, because I can't see what she's doing. There we go. Inhale as we come down. Exhale, lifting, and as you progress, you should feel that muscle starting to fatigue a little bit in the side of the buttock as well. And down. Is that about 10, Narelle?
Yes.
Yes, good. Alrighty. So I'm going to pretend that I've done 10 there, even though I haven't. From this position, we're going to prop ourselves up into a Z sit. So we're sitting towards the side, And we're just going to have a sneaky side stretch, which is one of my favourite things to do first thing in the morning. I want us to think about where this left buttock is sitting and feel how closely it's anchored to the mat. You're not going to feel like your hips are completely square, but just acknowledge where it's actually touching the mat. And then I want you to lower onto your right elbow and still feel like your buttock hasn't lifted up off the mat there. From here, we're just stretching the left arm up overhead. We're going to take some breaths in this position, feeling the stretch through the side of the ribs. Having some awareness about where that bottom shoulder is as well, trying to keep that away from the ear. One more exhale. I find with these stretches, when I sit in the stretch for some breaths, then it's often not until about the third or fourth breath that I really start to access the deeper part of the stretch. So we don't want to rush through it. Now you might like to turn the chest a little bit towards the floor to play with that stretch. If you do turn the chest towards the floor, you'll feel that the buttock will probably lift a little bit off the floor. And then you can play with the position of your left arm to enhance the stretch up underneath your shoulder blade. Let's bring the chest back towards the front as we unrotate. I do believe that's a word. And then we're going to prop ourselves up, lifting the spine up nice and tall. From here, we're going to swing our feet around to face the other way. We're going to do the same thing on this side before we come down for our side movements. So acknowledging where the right buttock is in terms of the mat, and as we lower the left elbow to the floor, trying to keep that buttock down onto the floor, reaching the right hand up overhead. This is one where it will probably feel different on either side. And breathing. Opening up down the side of the ribs. Feels so good. Is that good for you, Nira?
Yes.
Yes.
Tight hip.
And then from here again, you may like to play with turning the chest towards the floor a little bit, reaching through the right arm and playing with the position of the right arm to access the stretch underneath the shoulder blade. And breathing. There's George. It's my fur child's barking in the background. Turning the chest back towards the front now. We're going to restack the spine up nice and tall. And then we're going to lower ourselves all the way down onto our left side for our clock or chest opener. Then taking our lower arm underneath our head to create a pillow. Getting ready for our clams on this side. So swinging the legs back a little bit. Lifting the feet to check that the feet are in line with the spine, with the long axis of the body. And checking where the knees are sitting. As you look down at your knees, making sure that they look level. You've got a slight tunnel or sense of a tunnel underneath your side waist. We'll inhale to prepare. And as we exhale, engage the pelvic floor and lift the top knee up. Doesn't have to go too high. Inhale as we lower the knee. Exhale, pelvic floor, lift the knee. What we want to be careful that we don't do with our clams is as we lift the knee up, we don't want to roll the body and the hips back. That would be cheating. The body will always find a way to cheat. Exhale, lift the knee. Inhale, lower. And exhale, lifting. And lowering. How's my expert counter going, Nira?
I was just thinking of a Pilates instructor and we don't count.
We can't count. Not while we're teaching.
Let's say 7.
Got no idea if we're in time. We're pretty good. Thankfully, Narelle's a good breather, so I can hear when she's exhaling. So we always want to try and exhale in the hardest part of any of the movements in Pilates. Is that it, Narelle?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, from here, can we roll onto our back? We're going to have our knees bent. We're going to do a few bridges. just to get some spinal articulation, get some of our other buttock muscles working for the day, lengthening through the spine. So our heels are quite close to our bottom, our shoulders are relaxed, our chest is open, and we're going to start in a neutral spine. So what that means is we've got this little sense or a feeling of a gap, a mouse hole underneath our lower back, with the back of our pelvis anchored firmly into the mat. So let's take an inhale to prepare, and as we exhale, lift the pelvic floor and gently flatten your back into the floor. We're just going to do some rocks first of all. Inhale, bring the tailbone back towards the floor, recreate neutral spine. Exhale, flattening the back, feel the pubic bone lift. Inhale as we rock it back. So we're just warming up that lower back in our flexion and extension movement. We want to feel like this movement here is being created completely by the muscles in the lower tummy and the pelvic floor. So we're not going to be wanting to have any buttock squeezing happening for this part. Good. So on the next one, we're going to start in the same way, and then we're going to continue up into our bridge. So we flatten the back as we exhale. Then we're going to squeeze our buttocks and we're going to start to peel the spine up off the floor, opening the front of the hips to the ceiling. We're going to pause and breathe in at the top and exhale as we melt the spine back down onto the floor. Keep the tail tucked between your legs until the very end. We inhale at the bottom in neutral spine. Exhale, lift the pelvic floor. Squeeze the bottom, peel the spine one vertebrae at a time away from the floor. Pause to breathe in at the top. Exhale, let the sternum come down, relax the shoulders. Inhale at the bottom. Do a few more here. Exhale, squeezing the buttocks. Feel the heels pressing into the floor. Feel the energy going out through your knees so you get that length down the front of the body. And melting back down, shoulders relaxed, tail is tucked until the very end. And exhale, lifting. How's that going, Narelle?
Good, I've just worked through a cramp in the hammy.
Excellent, without stopping. And rolling down. We'll do one more. Breathe in at the top. Exhale, rolling down. Beautiful. So from here, we're going to do one last little exercise as part of our daily Pilates Flow. I like to do something that is for turning my core muscles on in my lower tummy area. Depends on your strength and the strength of your core as to which exercise you might choose for this. The one that I'm going to show today is one that will be safe for pretty much everybody to do, and that's the leg slide. This can be progressed to many degrees once your strength improves. But we're starting in neutral spine with the knees bent, and as we breathe in, we're going to lift one foot off the floor and straighten the leg out, and the heels just hovering off the floor. As we exhale, pelvic floor comes on, and we pull the leg back in and we put the foot back on the floor. Changing to the other side, breathing in as we reach the leg out long. And exhale, pelvic floor, drawing the leg back in. Good. Breathing in as we reach away. And exhale, pulling back in. And again, breathing in to reach, find the length. Feel the lower tummy muscles working as you exhale and pull the leg back in. Breathing in and exhale, coming back. Let's check in that we're not feeling any tension creeping up into our shoulders, that we're not trying to compensate or brace through the shoulders. If we take our awareness to the way that the back of the pelvis is touching the floor, as we're moving the legs from leg to leg, from side to side, we want to feel that the pelvis stays nice and still, that it's not rocking from side to side. Let's do 2 more on each leg then around. How's your core feeling, Narelle?
Good.
Good.
I rarely do leg slides, so this is good.
It's good, isn't it? I find, yeah, it's a nice safe one it's usually for most people, even if the core's not that strong, it's not going to produce any adverse feelings like lower back pain. Okay, from here, let's just give the knees a loose rock from side to side. And I think that'll do us. That's what I will do most mornings before I go and walk the dog, just to warm my body up and get it ready for the day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.